And that's what I'm getting at. Why would you choose a method of training that is overall only for aesthetics, lacks in nearly every other department, when you could choose a much simpler, much cheaper, much more efficient way of training that has more applicable real-world benefits and will still get you a good aesthetic result? I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a kettlebell training program or that you should do simple and sinister, although those would not be terrible ideas. Maybe all you need to do is integrate some of these concepts of What's up, guys? Before we get into the video, I just wanted to let you know that on January 2nd, 2021, I will be hosting a 3-day fasting challenge, no food for 3 days, so we can all lose some of this holiday weight that we have gained over the past 2 months. So if you are interested in signing up for that, it is 100% free. There is a link in the description of this video, lose10in3days.com. Go to that link, sign up for that program. You will get an email notification and we'll take it from there. So if you're interested, click the link in the description. If not, enjoy the rest of the video. Look, I don't have anything against bodybuilding per se. I just think it's inefficient. And don't get me wrong, if Arnold Schwarzenegger never did what he did for the sport of bodybuilding, I probably wouldn't have been interested in fitness in the first place. I don't know about you, I grew up idolizing guys like Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme. And while Stallone was a boxer and Van Damme was a martial artist, it was really Arnold who made it cool to be strong. But that was a long time ago. There was no internet back then. And we were all served through mass media a mediocre, mass-produced helping of indoctrination that told us that there was only one way to get fit. 3 to 4 sets of 10 reps, 3 to 4 exercises per body part, 1 to 2 body parts per workout, 10 minutes of abs, 20 minutes of cardio, the same cut and paste cookie cutter bullshit that you see in every bodybuilding magazine and every bro science forum or YouTube video. It's all pretty much the same, boring. And as much shit as I talk about bodybuilding, it ironically requires a lot more thought, planning, and care than many other forms of fitness. It is not something that you can be stupid or lazy and succeed at. You have to rotate your exercises. You can't just do the same exercises, indefinitely. You have to rotate them. You have to carefully analyze your weak points and disproportionately focus on them. You have to select from literally hundreds of exercises to create the perfect training program for you. You have to experiment with all of these exercises and find out which ones work the best for you. You have to experiment with different training protocols. Should you do push-pull legs? Should you do an upper-lower split? Should you do full body 6 days a week? How long should you bulk? How aggressively should you cut? I just listed these off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more. And again, not to take anything away from the incredible achievements of people like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not to take anything away from them. Even with their superior genetics and copious amounts of performance-enhancing, candy, it still takes dedication and work to get to that level. For your average person, though, I think bodybuilding is a huge waste of time. Yeah, it's better than nothing, sure. It's better than sitting on your ass and not doing anything. And yeah, I also understand that that's how most people get into training. That's how I got into training. That's the way I trained for years before I knew any better, and occasionally that's still how I train when I want to mix things up a little bit. And yes, I'm not saying there are no benefits to bodybuilding, of course there are. But there's other ways to get in shape, and ever since working on this fitness program, I have rekindled my love affair with kettlebells. Lockdown, COVID, whatever you want to think about that, the big corporations are covering their asses and they are enforcing measures that make it not fun to use their facilities when it comes to training. And I don't want to do that anymore. So guess what? I bought me a kettlebell. I'm training with my kettlebell. I'm feeling pretty good about the gains that I'm making with a single 50-pound kettlebell. And of course, it's impossible to mention kettlebells without the guy who popularized them in America, Pavel, who is a former fitness trainer for the Russian Spetsnaz, which is, as far as I know, the most elite Russian special forces unit. And Pavel is one of these rare combinations of an elite athlete who is not just fit, but he reads and disseminates studies into actionable advice. It's rare to find somebody like that, not common. And once in a generation to be as common, to be on the same level as Pavel, in my opinion. He has been a huge influence on me over the years, ever since I pirated his old books back when I was in the army. But back then, there used to be a publication called Dragon Door Entertainment. I'm not sure if it's still around. Dragon Door was this publication where they would talk about functional training. You can think of them as like a progenitor of CrossFit. It was CrossFit before CrossFit was a thing. Kind of gave birth to the CrossFit movement, or there were a lot of similarities. Dragon Door was the first place that I ever found out about functional training. This is kind of the birth of functional training. Another huge influence on my development, Ori Hofmeckler, the author of The Warrior Diet, and another progenitor, this time of OMAD or intermittent fasting, or whatever you want to call it. He used to publish articles on Dragon Door as well. There were a lot of high rollers, for lack of a better explanation. Before Pavel had his company, Strong First, he would publish articles on Dragon Door. That's how I found out about kettlebells. And eventually, my internet research led me to some PDFs of his early books, which are very well written, by the way. This is when I realized that this guy wasn't just a fit athlete. He wasn't just a fit athlete and intelligent enough to distill these techniques. He was funny. He's a good writer. I don't know how did he have a ghostwriter? Maybe, but his books are hilarious. You guys should definitely check him out if you're looking for a good read. Highly recommend it. And fortunately, Pavel has stuck around over the years and continued to push kettlebell training into the mainstream. His style of training is much different than bodybuilders. It's more like a power lifter or an old school Russian Olympic lifter. Now, for those of you think power lifter and you think this like dude who is 400 pounds and looks like a refrigerator, you have to keep in mind that those are only the heaviest weight class of powerlifters. There is in powerlifting an unlimited weight class where you can be as heavy as you want. And once you get to that top level, once you get to that heaviest weight class, it is actually in your best interest to get as big as possible within reason, because being that big will help you move the weight. However, you gotta understand that there are weight classes to powerlifting, and every single weight class underneath that weight class, the dudes are hard as nails. They are jacked and they are rock freaking solid. Anyway, here's Pavel's recommendations for getting strong. So simple, even you can do it. And there's more, for sure. I'm just simplifying. Never more than 5 reps per set. Okay? Do not do more than 5 reps per set. Start out at 5, work your way down. Perform the reps as perfectly as possible. One of the concepts that you will hear Pavel repeat over and over is that strength is a skill. And anybody who has mastered exercises like the Turkish get-up or muscle-ups can tell you that it's true. A lot of it has to do with your technique. I can do muscle-ups now. I was not always able to do them. When I was learning how to do them, I had to learn every step of the movement until I got to the point where I knew how to exert force at every point in the movement, so that it became a lot more about technique than it did about strength. Even to the point where I would go through periods where I was out of shape and I would be able to jump up and do muscle ups again because I knew how to do the technique. Number 3, never push to failure. Bodybuilders will tell you to push to failure. If you are training for strength, you do not push to failure. You always leave 1 or 2 more reps in the tank. Number 4, never strive to feel the burn, okay? You don't want to feel that lactic acid burn when you are training for strength. I'm not saying that you should never train like that. Of course, sometimes you want to. Sometimes you're working on your conditioning. Sometimes it's good to run some sprints. I'm not saying you never should, but when you are training for strength, that is not the goal. And finally, 15 minutes is the ideal rest period. 5 is more realistic. And these are, think about it. You're doing 5 reps per set and you're resting 5 minutes in between sets minimum. That's a long time. Not really too practical. So you might have to change some things here, but the point is to understand the overall premise here, which is that you want to do the lifts as perfectly as possible. You want to rest enough in between sets so that you are fresh for every single set. And you want to lift as heavy as possible. Now, it's important to note here that these are not some random guidelines that old Pavel just made up, drinking some vodka on his own. These are based on an amalgamation of Russian lifting practices. Empirical, based on results. Nobody knows why they work. To this day, they haven't figured out why they work scientifically. You can quote whatever study you want. Those studies, the people who quote those studies, they don't know what they're talking about. There is still some discussion as to what is true and what is not. Even with simple things like muscle growth, they don't really know why it happens. The point is that these strategies led to world records that were made in the 1980s and still have not been broken today. These methods, old school methods. Kettlebell training has changed over the years somewhat. What is popular recently, from what I've seen, is this new program called Simple and Sinister, which is made up of only 2 exercises, the kettlebell swing and the Turkish get-up. Now, back in the day, there were cleans, you were doing snatches, also Turkish get-ups, swings. Pavel has always said that the kettlebell swing is the best lift. If the question, if you had to only pick what lift, what would you pick? He would say the swing. I've heard him say it many times. Now, Simple and Sinister is the new black, so they're saying the swing and the Turkish get-up. Now, the crazy thing about this style of training is how infrequent the training seems to be and how the overall volume is kept so low. For example, the Simple and Sinister program is 100 swings done in sets of 5 or 10, and these are one-arm swings. So 100 total, not 100 each arm. So 50 right arm, 50 left arm, and 10 Turkish get-ups, 5 with your right arm, 5 with your left arm, and your alternating arms. So 1 right, 1 left, boom, boom, boom. This entire workout is to be done in no more than 10 minutes. No more than 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes of working out. That's all. That's all you're supposed to do. Men and women use different weights. Men are expected to be able to do this with a 32-pound kettlebell, which is almost 70 pounds. So it's a lot. It's not like these are baby weights. But this is not an hour-long workout with 4 sets of 10, with 4 exercises, 2 body parts, with abs and cardio. This is Simple and Sinister. I don't know. I think that's kind of cheesy, that name. I get it. It's easy to remember, right? But it is short. It is to the point. I have not done this specific method of training, but I can tell you that in the past, month and a half-ish, since I have changed my training to doing no more than 5 reps per set and using a heavy weight and focusing on form, I have gotten strangely much stronger in a very short period of time. So the concepts do work. Anyway, if you look at some of Pavel's instructors, or even Pavel himself, the dude is skinny. He is a skinny guy. If you saw him on the street and you did not know who he was, you would probably not think that he even lifted weights. He's a solid dude for sure. But these guys, and some of his instructors are bigger because they come from different athletic backgrounds. But if you saw them next to these mass monsters of the bodybuilding world, the Jay Cutlers and the Rich Piana's a little extreme, fine, but Ronnie Coleman, or even just amateur bodybuilders, it's clear which ones would look more impressive physically. Obviously the bodybuilders. They're huge, they're jacked, they train for size, they train for aesthetics. Looking at them, if you did not know, you would be like, wow, those bodybuilders, they're huge. They'd eat these other guys for breakfast. But for overall function, strength, health, longevity, endurance, I mean, even if you were picking teams for a friendly game of anything, I would pick Pavel's guys in a heartbeat, in a second. I would not pick a bodybuilder for anything other than standing around and looking buff. That's really it. And that's what I'm getting at. Why would you choose a method of training that is overall only for aesthetics, lacks in nearly every other department, when you could choose a much simpler, much cheaper, much more efficient way of training that has more applicable real-world benefits and will still get you a good aesthetic result? I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a kettlebell training program or that you should do simple and sinister, although those would not be terrible ideas. Maybe all you need to do is integrate some of these concepts of reduced volume, increased weight, increased rest time, more Olympic lifts into your workouts. Maybe you just add a few sets of kettlebell training at the end of your workout, or preferably the beginning of your workout, or during rest days, or 2 days a week you do some kettlebell training, or you do low volume, high weight training. Am I saying I'll never work out in a gym again, that I'll never do another bodybuilding session? Of course not. I love doing bicep curls. It's probably the most fun exercise I've ever done. But I think, my opinion, and who am I, but when it comes to fitness, the core of your training should be the fundamentals, i.e. strength and skill work. And remember, strength is a skill. And bodybuilding training or aesthetics should be the accessories. All right, guys, thank you for watching my video. As you may have heard already, I am doing a 3-day fasting challenge. It's going to be 72 hours starting January 2nd. It will be live. I will be leading it. If you are interested in losing some of that holiday weight, I would say you can lose 10 pounds in 72 hours, 100%. I would even guarantee that if you do what I tell you to do. If you want to sign up, link is in the description. Click on that link, sign up. We're going to have a Facebook group. I'm going to be posting information there daily, videos, encouragement. We're going to get through this together. We're going to lose that weight. And yeah, that's basically it. So if you're interested in that, click the link in the description, sign up for that. If you have any comments on this video, let me know, write it down below. Peace.